I'd like to call the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee to order. The clerk will please call the roll.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Today we have a number of bills in front of us, and I will be taking them in this order. First, we will be getting the subcommittee report from the Health and Human Resources Subcommittee and the bills that they heard yesterday. Then we will be hearing member bills of members of the Senate who are not members of this committee. And finally, we will be hearing member bills of members of this committee. Okay, so Senator Hanger, your subcommittee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay. Oh, we gotta fix that. I guess I can't get too close to that.
For everybody's benefit, we're going to wait till this is fixed.
Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Your subcommittee met yesterday afternoon for a lengthy session, and we had quite a number of bills fairly early in the process here. So I think we dealt with them as efficiently as we could. I will try to put them in a block after going through and explaining them with appropriate amendments. Senate Bill 1104, Senator Boysko directed the Department of Medical Assistance Services to convene a work group to advise on design and implementation of a violence prevention service benefit in the Medicaid program. It was reported from the Education Committee after significant amendments, 15-0, and we did put an amendment on that which would require a report be filed with our Senate Appropriations and Finance Committee as well as the House Committee. And I would move that amendment, Madam Chair.
Second. The amendment be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? It's agreed to.
Thank you. And with that, we would like that in the block, recommending it be reported. Senate Bill 1234, Senator Cosgrove's bill, is a new initiative which, as it came to us from Education and Health, was fairly broad, which could be a significant fiscal impact. We thought the focus of the bill had merit in that it requires the Department of Behavioral and Health Developmental Services to establish a pilot program for electroencephalograms. I practice on that, but it deals with veterans who may have traumatic brain injury, sexual trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder. And what we did, we have a substitute which basically limits it to a pilot that would be put forward and developed in the Hampton Roads in Northern Virginia area for a much reduced cost. So I move that we adopt the substitute, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And with that, we want that included in the block. Senate Bill 1232, Senator Donovan's is no fiscal impact. It requires the Office of Chief Medical Examiner to investigate deaths of individuals who are or who were immediately prior to another hospital receiving services in a state hospital or training center. And that does not require an amendment, and I would ask that be included in the block, Senate Bill 1232. Senate Bill 1276, Senator Donovan, concerning autopsies for descendants in the custody, or decedents rather, in the custody of the Department of Corrections. Minimal fiscal impact. It requires that inmates in the custody of the Department of Corrections have an autopsy performed by the chief medical examiner or the assistant medical examiner or pathologist under agreement with VDH. And no amendments required on that. Minimal fiscal impact. Obviously, there's a concern. I think we have additional funding for the medical examiners because there's a shortage in that area. But I would ask that be included in the block. Senate Bill 1269, Senator Edwards, dealing with auxiliary grants. It was allowing the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services to provide auxiliary grants capped at 200 to eligible recipients residing in independent communities, living settings, rather than where we traditionally have them in assisted living facilities or adult homes. We did prepare a substitute on that and basically authorize the development of guidelines for such a program, but we included a reenactment clause in the substitute so that it would not be funded in this year, but the program itself, the guidelines, would be enacted. So I would ask that we adopt a substitute, Madam Chair.
Second. It's been moved and seconded the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's agreed to.
Thank you. And that would be in the block. Senate Bill 926, Senator Vovola. This would establish the Emergency Department Care Management Grant Program. What it was trying to get at with the bill was a situation where you have frequent flyers, people frequently using our emergency rooms in the hospitals. It had potentially a significant fiscal impact, and so we did make an amendment to put the financial contingency clause on that. So I would so move, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's agreed to.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Then Senate Bill 802, Senator Hashmi, deals with, it authorizes Virginia to join the Counseling Compact, which permits eligible licensed professional counselors to practice in compact member states if they're licensed in at least one member state. This has a delayed effective date to January 1st of 2024, no fiscal impact, and we recommend that be included in the block, Senate Bill 802. Senate Bill 987, Senator Mason bill was moved to next week. We had a conflict there and couldn't address that one. As well as Senate Bill 998 and Senate Bill 957, we moved to next week for further discussion. So with that, Madam Chair, I would move that Senate Bill 1104 is amended, Senate Bill 1234 with substitute, Senate Bill 1232, Senate Bill 1276, Senate Bill 1269, amendment in nature of substitute, Senate Bill 926 as amended, and Senate Bill 802 be in a block, and that we report them.
Okay, Senator Newman, you had a comment.
Madam Chairman, I just asked that Senate Bill 802 come out of the block. Last year we had a long discussion about this one, and I still have some questions, so if that one could come out of the block, please.
Okay, without objection, Senate Bill 802 is out of the block. Okay, the motion is that the bills in the block be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The block is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then I would move that Senate Bill 802 be reported.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 802 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0, abstentions 1.
Ayes 15, no 0s, abstention 1. The bill's reported. I don't know if it's just you or if it's... Yeah, and I think I am too. Okay. Now we will go to non-member bills, and we will start with Senator Hackworth, Senate Bill 1468.
1468 is a bill to amend and reenact Code of Virginia to permit flood mitigation measures for improvements made by
You too.
yeah. All right.
Marianne, are you being able to fix this, or should we go without mics?
All right, we'll try this again. There we go. So Senate Bill 1468, Madam Chair, is legislation that would add to the permissible uses. Testing. There we go. Okay. All right, we'll try this again, Madam Chair. So this legislation would add to the permissible uses for the coal and gas road improvement fund by allowing those funds to be spent on flood mitigation measures that reduce or prevent flooding of any infrastructure that's already maintained with the coal and gas road improvement fund.
Move the bill be reported.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill, that Senate Bill 1468. Oh, there's an amendment.
I do have one amendment to insert 2026. We strike on line 62. We strike 2025. We insert 2026, and that gets it the same as the House.
Okay, it's been
So
moved and seconded that the amendments be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the amendments are agreed to now. We are ready, I believe, to have a move to report. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1468 as amended be reported. Please record your vote, aye or nay.
I-16, no 0.
I-16, no 0, the bill's
Thank you,
reported.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next is Senate Bill 936, Senator Hashmi. My computer is talking back. It works, it hears us. Okay, I don't see Senator Hashmi or is Senator Sproul here? Oh, no wonder. Okay, sorry, Senator Hashmi.
Rising heat and the health concerns that we are seeing, not just in Virginia, but across the country. And this particular bill asks that we establish through the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, we asked VDEM to develop a comprehensive extreme heat emergency plan. We've got some plans in place in different localities, but we do not have a state level plan that would help all of us ensure that we are addressing the issue consistently and across all of the communities. According to the budget report or the fiscal impact that we've received, we are requesting 2 FTEs to help VDEM develop and implement this plan. And in correspondence with us, they have indicated that the 2 FTEs would
I think it's time to move to the new building. Questions for Senator Hashmi? Yes, Senator Norman.
I'm almost petrified to cut this thing on. I see what the cost for doing the analysis and study is, but I also am more cautious about the lack of any understanding or projection on the ongoing cost, if in fact implemented. And I could see where the analysis on doing the study would not be that prohibitive, but I could also see where trying to implement some of the suggestions in your bill could be exceedingly expensive, and I just wonder about moving forward.
I think at this point.
Was there a question from Senator Norman? Because I
Madam Chair, is that what you want me to do? Do you want me to try to speak into it? Okay, testing, testing. I've been advised by the person who runs the committee to my left, other than you, Madam Chair, to try to talk into my microphone. So I'm just doing what I'm told. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, do we have the bills reported on a vote of 13-3? Thank you, Senator Ashby. Senator Cosgrove? No.
You don't look like Senator Cosgrove.
Senator Sproul?
Madam Chair,
Cosgrove never
It's some
looked
of
that
them.
good.
All right.
Madam Chair, you need to borrow these? Good morning, Madam Chair, members. Senate Bill 786. This legislation would increase compensation for jury duty from the current $30 per day to $100. For an 8-hour day, $30 come out to $3.75 per hour. Some courts are having an issue with getting people to show up for jury duty. Many times it is because they cannot afford to take off from work for a $30 compensation. Madam Chair, it has been almost 35 years since they got a raise for $30 a day. 35 years. To help you out, when we raised the minimum wage, we did it at the cost of business across the Commonwealth, both small and large. For all the reasons that each one of us gave for supporting minimum wage increase, I am standing here giving you the same thing about raising from $30 per day, which comes out to $3.75 an hour, to $100, which come out to a minimum wage of $12.50 an hour. I don't need to tell you all the hardships and burdens that's being caused by jurors. The judges having a problem, the lawyers having a problem, and the sheriff having a problem, is that we cannot find it. And I know this committee looks at the money, but it got to be something done. 35 years, $30 a day for 35 years. If we can find some money to do other things that is needed after 35 years, you got to do something for this. I ask y'all to please support this bill.
Are there questions or comments on Senate Bill 789? Is there a motion? Oh, this is my. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 789 be reported. Please record your vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you, Senator.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported. Is Senator Stewart here? No. Okay, we now will go to committee members' bills, and let's start with Senator Evans, Senate Bill 1095.
Good morning, Madam Chair. This bill, Senate Bill 1095, this is working now, is a tax bill to allow for deduction of ordinary business expenses by cannabis businesses. We know that there's a federal tax provision, 280E, that was designed in the 1980s to keep narcotic drug traffickers from abusing federal tax loopholes. But today, that same law is used to tax state licensed cannabis businesses at 3 times the tax rate of all other businesses in America. The cannabis industry, the legal cannabis industry, did not exist when the provisions of 280E were first enacted. So I think the tax code should be amended in Virginia to reflect the fact that at least medical cannabis businesses for now are operating legally, as they're in 37 other states. Decoupling state and federal taxes removes that limitation for state licensed businesses and allows them to deduct their usual and necessary expenses from their state tax liability, even if they cannot deduct the same expenses from federal taxes. And 4 states have already done this, so I ask the committee to support the legislation.
Senator Saslaw.
It's high time we did something about this.
Anyone else? We've, Senator, heard that for several years. We have a committee amendment. It's been moved and seconded the amendment be adopted. Please, staff, please report the amendment.
Madam Chair, it just strikes recreational or on line 60, limiting the deconformity to medical cannabis.
Any questions about the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Amendment's adopted. Is there a motion on the amended bill?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that, now I lost the number. Senate Bill 1095 as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Senator. Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Senate, but they don't know how to vote him. Okay, Senator Locke. Senate Bill 860.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Senate Bill 860 deals with the Fort Monroe Authority on the collection of fees and goods and services. Fort Monroe has a duty to maintain itself in perpetuity as a place that is a desirable one in which to reside, do business, and visit, all in a way that is economically sustainable. The authority, including specifically Section 2.2-2340B 10, already empowers Fort Monroe to fix, charge, and collect rents, fees, and charges of various types. However, this language is potentially ambiguous as it relates to the ability of the authority to impose fees on the consumption by visitors to Fort Monroe of goods and services being provided by persons or businesses located or operating at the authority. So this proposed amendment would clarify any such ambiguity by expressly authorizing Fort Monroe to impose such consumption fees. The second part of this bill would allow Fort Monroe to install security cameras and similar devices as important tools in deterring and prosecuting property damages and other crimes, because Fort Monroe is subject to vandalism, graffiti, property destruction, and other acts of violence and law breaking. And Fort Monroe Authority has a duty to oversee the preservation, protection, and maintenance of the resources and property and the renewal of Fort Monroe as a vibrant and thriving community. And Glenn Oder is here as the Executive Director if you would like any additional information.
Are there questions? Is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported. Senator Marsden, Senate Bill 1354.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 1354 deals with the issue of worker misclassification and debarment procedures of employers. This bill improves due process for employers accused of misclassifying workers by preventing them from being debarred from state contracts or having notices sent to all public bodies regarding their misclassification until all relevant appeals have been exhausted. In the case of an error within the Department of Taxation regarding a misclassification finding, this bill prevents employers from being debarred and public bodies being notified regarding the disbarment by requiring all appeals to be exhausted prior to debarring an employer. This bill would clarify that in cases where the Department of Taxation deems that an employer misclassified its workers, all administrative and judicial appeals must be exhausted before such employer is debarred from state contracts. This bill would clarify existing law. It would have no general fund impact. It's according to tax, it is just a routine thing that they can certainly absorb. And I spoke to a member of the labor community who checked with his colleagues, and they have no issues with the bill. I think it's just a due process bill and a fairness bill to our employers, and that is the bill, Madam Chair.
We meant to put them together. Thank you. Are there questions for Senator Marsden? I believe that this bill has not been through a subcommittee, and we need to open it for public comment.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Charles Kennington, Deputy Secretary of Finance. It's good to be with you this morning. This bill was, thank you. This bill was introduced at the request of the Department of Taxation. And just a couple of things I'll add to Senator Marsden's comments. Legislation that was passed in 2020, of course, set up the process where the department, during an audit, if they determine that an employer failed to properly classify an individual as an employee and fails to pay taxes required to be paid with respect to that employee, then the department is required to notify public bodies and covered institutions of the name of that employer. If on a subsequent audit, the department finds instances of misclassification, then all public bodies and covered institutions are then prohibited from awarding a contract to that employer, hence debarment. What the bill was a little unclear on at the time was how debarment would be handled during during the appeals process, and this bill simply tries to clarify that so that debarment would only happen after all those appeals have been exhausted. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there further comments?
Madam Chair, can I ask Charles a question, or him or Senator
Evans.
Marsden? It says relates to do we know the time period for bringing an appeal?
Good morning, Madam Chairman. Kristen Collins from the Department of Taxation. So for an administrative appeal, it's 90 days, and then to file in court, you have up to 3 years to file a lawsuit.
So this would prevent for 3 years someone who's been debarred from being notified up to 3 years if they don't appeal?
So the employer would be notified that there was a worker misclassification issue and that debarment could be an option, and then at that point they could appeal it. And so yes, they would have up to 3 years to appeal it.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Is there a motion on the bill?
Second.
Been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, noes 1.
Ayes 15, noes 1. Bill's reported. The next bill is my bill, also dealing with conformity, Senate Bill 882. This is actually something we do every year to conform our tax code to the extent we can with the federal tax code. Fortunately, I think every technological glitch that can happen has happened this morning. But because of changes since the governor put in his budget, actually it's an even better news situation where we would gain $23.5 million. Is there any discussion or questions on this? There's an amendment? Okay, we have an amendment. Could someone move the amendment?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Amendment's agreed to. Is there a motion?
Okay.
Move the bill be reported.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 882 be reported.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
before
Senator
we vote, can I
Peterson.
just ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, because I see that we have the conformity, and then we have about 10 stated exceptions to that conformity. Can staff just sort of brief us, just what are the exceptions to the conformity, just very briefly? Not that I haven't memorized the Internal Revenue Code.
I was going to ask Tax to come up and tell us the exceptions on that. And I did, Madam Chair, want to
Yes.
mention that the amendment, I'll let Stephen, it relates to two previous bills, but I'll let him read that. Some members are aware of what that was.
Madam Chair, yes, it adds the eligible educators deduction and the beneficial hardwood management tax credit as well.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So regarding the question regarding these deconformity provisions, these are something that's currently under existing law.
Right.
And it's like bonus depreciation. So when you get your deduction and carryback of net operating losses, that is something that is actually was passed way back in 2010 and 2009. So it's not affecting taxpayers currently, if that makes sense. And then some of these other ones are things that, let me see here. Probably the biggest one here is that there is we've had a longstanding deconformity from the medical expense deduction floor. So that'd be another one.
Okay, Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Senator Peterson.
Yeah, I see that on subpart 7 and 8, we deconform in regard to the COVID Relief Security Act. Did that have to do with the PPP loans and the deductibility of the expenses for PPP?
So like, let me look here. Yes, that did, although that is for taxable years, so prior to 2021. So going forward, we would conform to that, if that makes sense.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, that's news to me. All right. And then obviously minimum standard deduction. I assume that's a deconformity.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Further questions? Yes, Senator Hanger.
Have the speaker there, Madam Chair. The provision where we are conforming to the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023 reduces about $24 million. Where does that come from?
Essentially that it has a lot of favorable provisions regarding like retirement, and essentially it allows a few things. But it allows money to come out of retirement accounts if people choose to, like more easily, like more flexible rules. And so that's going to create taxable income and additional tax. And then also it allows greater use of Roth accounts. So you can pay tax now rather than later if you choose to.
Okay, so it's a voluntary action
Yes.
for the taxpayer to incur that tax.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions? Is there a motion on the bill? Been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 882 as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
I-16, no, 0.
I-16, no, 0. Bills reported. We have two bills, but the patrons have not been here, so I will just give the warning I've given in the past that if patrons don't show up, there's no guarantee that their bills will be heard at the end of, before the end of the time frame that we have for hearing bills. So, having completed our docket, the committee will rise.
Very good.